Faith Forged in Fire, where we dive headfirst into the unique challenges and triumphs that comes with being a firefighter, all while exploring what it means to live out a biblical worldview. Join us as we find hope, perseverance, and faith in the midst of the heat and chaos. Welcome to the podcast.
You've been having a moment, like a 5-year moment, like a payment plan for a new house. We'll have it paid in just a moment.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Hey, my name's Steve. I'm a Walmart greeter.
Oh, still working. Can't retire.
The world. Way to start our 100th episode.
100th, one hundo.
Hey, I got to say this. It's only 100 for some of us.
Yeah.
That's true.
Loser.
I know.
I don't know.
When I'm at 75, I wonder where I'm at.
52.
I know.
Well, I didn't even count. I don't know how many episodes Jason and I had.
I don't either.
Before we started this back up. But so let's welcome to the podcast, by the way. Welcome back.
So there's something for the listeners to do.
Yeah, go count.
See
how many episodes I've recorded.
Yeah. You've done 100.
I've done. Well, I actually missed somewhere in there. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
None of us have made every one.
Yeah, because that's when Connor came in.
Yes.
We
That's because I was thinking
interviewed
about
Connor.
that. That's because that was the first time Connor
So this
came
really
in.
isn't the 100th episode.
It is the 100th episode. How did we ever make it?
I don't know.
Still don't have good microphones.
People actually listen to us.
Microphones. Okay, Mike Tyson.
We gotta get that. We gotta get that off the rails too. Put up here.
Yes,
off
we
the rails.
do. Definitely
Off the rails.
By the way, and I feel like we just started. We had grand plans for this 100th episode.
No, we didn't. Don't listen to it.
And we've already derailed it.
In theory, yeah, the grand plans.
Listen, I gotta say this. In celebration of our 100th episode, if you are not on Facebook, go to Facebook and look for Faith Forged in Fire. You have got to see the amazing new podcast art that has become our. Oh. I changed our podcast, all of it. It is all over because it is perfect.
Yes,
perfect. Just go look at it. One of our listeners, one of our faithful, and the best part is, he nailed it. And then I go, why has he listened to all these episodes? Because he obviously knows that we're a mess.
I have a hard time believing we've got a listener that's smart enough to make something so
I know.
cool.
He probably listened to the first episode and was like, and then did that. Yeah.
Well, it can't get any worse. I'm just going to keep listening.
It's always nice to say, man, who's got it worse than me right now? These guys here are something else. So that's.
So anyway, I want to have some fun for our 100th episode since it is 100, not 100 since this podcast started. That was weird. I heard a noise.
That's what I thought. I heard a tone go off.
Since this podcast started, it has been 100 episodes since Rich and I kicked it back off.
It's been 100 since you and I started?
Yeah, and it became what it is now. Yes.
Wow.
So just the story so everybody knows. Many of you know, but not everybody because we've acquired a lot of new listeners. A friend of mine and I started a podcast.
Yeah.
My one friend and I started a podcast called the Hey Pastor Podcast. It was his idea.
Hey Pastor, really?
Yeah, and for those of you who are in the fire service especially, but anybody would enjoy this book, I'll give a plug right here. Go look for The Rescuer by Jason Sawtell. If you have not read that book, you need to read that book. Am I biased? Sure, I absolutely am. But you still need to read that book.
I love the honesty. Love the honesty, Josh.
So the author of that book, Jason Sawtell, and I started the Hey Pastor Podcast, and we had a lot of fun with that. He would throw questions at me, and it was kind of the Hey Pastor, and he'd throw these questions at me, and we had a good time with that.
How did you get to meet him? Because he's not from here, right?
No, so that's the craziest story.
That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode. So one day, because I have quite a bit of fire stuff on my personal Instagram. There's no one thing that's there. So, and I share a lot of fire stuff. And one time, there was I got a follow by a person, and I was like, I think I recognize that name. There's no way. And I started looking, and sure enough, I recognized the name. It was Brendan McDonough. Did I say that right, Rich? McDonough?
Just say donut.
Yeah, donut. That's what his Instagram was then. I don't know if that's what it is now, but that's what his Instagram was then, is donut. And those of you who might know, he was, the flag that's here. What was the movie, Rich? I can't think of the movie now.
You're talking about with the
Yarnell Hill.
The Yarnell Hill?
Yeah. So he was the remaining survivor, right? So
yeah.
So, anyways, I was pretty blown away that he followed me. We had never had any contact with each other, but he followed me, and I thought that was really cool. So, I followed him back, and he was blessed to have me. He followed me, so I followed him back. Right? Is that how that works?
I'm sure that he stayed up all night worried about it.
Uh-huh. Anyway, so one day I'm flipping through Instagram, and I see he advertises a book that a friend of his wrote called The Rescuer by this guy named Jason Sawtell. And it talked about how he appreciated the faith, the gospel testimony, the redeeming work of Christ, that kind of stuff in this book. And I was like, So I started chasing it down, and when I read the back jacket and I read Jason's story, I immediately, as I'm reading this, going, man, this is Rich's story. In a different place, but it's the same story. We need to read this book. So I text Rich, and I think I just sent you a screenshot of it or something. I said, hey, we need to read this book. It couldn't have been 10 minutes later. Rich texted me and said they're ordered. So he had ordered them for us, and we read them together.
It was kind of our Bible study for a while.
Yeah, we've been, as you know, if you've been listening, we meet as regularly as we can for Bible study. And so, we kind of read the book chapter by chapter, and we talked about it. And once we got those ordered, I realized that if you pre-ordered, you got a study guide. Well, this was not a pre-order. This was far beyond the pre-order. But I'm like, man, this study guide has got to be out there somewhere. And I knew we were going to read these together. So I started searching for this study guide. And I was emailing whatever I could find for email addresses. And I eventually got this email back saying, oh, yeah, I can get you that. And I realized that the email came from the author. And I was blown away. I was like, what? This author just emailed me,
dude.
Yeah. I think that's what I said to Rich. This blows me away. The author just answered me.
And if you know Jason, that's what's funny.
Yeah, because nobody. Yeah, he's gonna.
Laid back.
Yeah. But at the time, we were like, "This is crazy," and so then I proceeded to. I followed
Stalk
that.
him.
Yeah. And I just said, hey, here's the deal. I'm a pastor. I'm going to be reading. I'm a pastor and a firefighter. We're going to be reading this with my buddy that I led to Christ, and he has a very similar story. And that was kind of it. And then I got another email back saying, hey, I really appreciate pastors. I want to do what I can to support. If you ever need anybody to talk to that's not a pastor, and again, if you know Jason, you understand. He just wanted to be able to be that sounding board if I ever needed it. And I, as they would say, the rest was history. I don't really know from there. We just started communicating, and we've really developed into good friends. And so,
pretty cool.
Yeah. So in the midst of all of that, the Hey Pastor podcast started. And then from there, I think we both, the neat thing was we both kind of had this burden at the same time. I was thinking, man, this is really fun, but we're both followers of Jesus, and we both have a firefighter background. It would be really cool to do a podcast that combined the two. And one day Jason said to me, he's like, hey, man, I know this is going really well, but I just really feel like we should do a different podcast. He's like, what do you think if we did this Christian podcast with firefighting, and we combined our love of Christ and firefighting, and we just called it Faith Forged in Fire. I was like, I love it. Let's do it. So we were podcasting for a little while that way, and then life took over for both of us, and we kind of had to let it go, and it was very abrupt. That was the unfortunate thing, but it's kind of the way life goes. In fact, I think about that on here all the time. Like, when will be our last episode?
Yeah.
I think about that on the YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel. Like, often you don't know, right, when the last episode is going to be. And that was the case. We didn't know, but we both knew that there's just too much going on. We need to be done. And Jason told me then, he said, if you want to take it and go with it, go with it. And I said, there's no way. I didn't want to do a podcast by myself. So it sat, I think, for 2 years. I think it was a couple years at
Probably
least.
been 2, yeah.
That it sat. And we were doing Bible study. Rich and I were doing Bible study again. And I think it was literally during that Bible study that I just kind of got this like, hey, we should start podcasting. So that's how we kicked it back off 100 episodes ago.
Yeah, if I remember right, I jumped up and down, and I was so excited to be the one that was chosen.
We were, well, we can talk about this later on some of our favorite. Rich told me, he said, I'm going to have to remember how to breathe like I did in the first couple episodes for the 100th, because it was so funny. It's like we laughed because when you're talking, you're exhaling, but somehow in his nervousness, he would inhale all this air, and then I'd see him like lean to the side so you couldn't hear it. He'd just be like,
Have to exhale. Yep.
and he'd exhale. It seemed like for 5 minutes getting all the air out. But he did it. Like I never made fun. I mean, it was comical in the moment, but I was by no means making fun of him because he jumped in and did it. And if it wasn't for Steve and Jake coming along, we wouldn't be here, because we were both kind of at the spot of going, okay.
Well, we were running out of ideas.
Yeah, and just feeling like with just the two of us, it was tough. And then, so I am thankful now that it's grown to what it is, just with the people, because, I was thinking about it today. I've got a lot going on this week. It's tough. There are some nights that I really look forward to sitting and podcasting. And then there are others that I look forward to it. But very transparently, the reason I'm sitting here tonight and didn't just say, you know what, I'm busy, let's give it a break, is because of the emails we get and proof that God is using this podcast, which makes it now it's more of a, I need to do this. I need to be, not that the people need us, right? But we need to be faithful to what God has put in front of us to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so thank you to you guys who really now, I would say, it truly has been, not to be cliche at all, it has been the listeners that have gotten me. I don't know about you two. And
without a doubt.
Unfortunately, Jake can't be here tonight. We're just in that season too. That doesn't help, right? We've had to change our recording nights.
Yeah.
Kind of scramble to get people. Just, it's a busy season for all of us right now. But I can say fully that it is the listeners and your emails, your encouragement, you guys sharing your stories with us. Thought I had that silent.
Was that you?
No.
You're messing with them all.
That have gotten me to 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Because when we started, what was our goal?
I was thinking about that with the emails that Steve
Just
sent
come
us.
through,
If
right.
we could get one person, if we were able to help one person reach one person.
Yep, because we go like, we don't care if we get, I mean, obviously we want 500 followers and 500 listeners, because that means that's more opportunity. Right. But our whole thing was just one.
Just one.
If we could get one person and be a teeny tiny little piece of their life to lead them to Christ,
right,
then
it's worth it. And we're still very small.
Yeah.
But now we can look, and I can say there are more than one, but easily there's one that there's so much proof that God has used us in this person's life. And there's multiples of them.
Multiples, yeah. Yeah. No, it's been wild to watch, because like you were saying, just a couple dudes doing a local podcast, just some little rinky-dink deal. And, it's you always think like, God can't use this. And then you get something that happens, and I'll never forget, I guess maybe starting it off, kind of things you can't forget is when I first came on, that situation with that local person that happened here, that person I knew. And I don't know if you guys remember that?
Right, yes.
And I'll tell you, that really...
Yeah, that's a whole nother person.
That was a whole...
right?
Well, that was the first one. Well, that was the first... Because I don't know...
The first one we could see. The first tangible.
Well, did you guys get... Well, did you guys have an email? You
no.
Didn't? No. So there was nothing before. So, yeah, I remember when I first came on, someone that I knew personally locally here, it was just a timing thing, and went through a moment, and it was real serious, and it was like, oh Lord, this is big, but it was the podcast that really kind of put this individual over the edge where they were crying out, and I just felt led for a period of time. Now, I haven't talked to this person in a while, but it was like this person was telling me like the life was transformed, and this podcast was part of it, of a transform. Like, I literally watched this individual like transform. Like, it was wild. And to know that a measly little podcast or a testimony or whatever could do so much in an individual's life, to know like that is bearing fruit for eternity. That's not just here on planet Earth. That's eternity, because what eventually ended up happening was it spread throughout the family. Like, it started out with this individual, and it went through the whole family. It was like wild to watch it. And just to know that God can do whatever he wants to do. And he could take this tiny little podcast and, now Rockford, Michigan, and basically take this somewhere where people are being affected in such a cool way. And they relate, and they hear our hearts, and they hear how God's using us. And they were just regular dudes just sitting there having a conversation. This isn't church, and this isn't, we're not doing sermons up here, and, we're not theologians and all that in that sense. We're just regular dudes sitting around a table, but yet people are relating, they're hearing, going, man, it's like me sitting there with those guys and just hanging out, and being transparent.
Right.
And we've cried here on this show. You guys, especially with some of the stuff you guys have dealt with, and tears have been shed, and we've been real and authentic. And I think that's what they've seen. They've seen the love of Jesus come through four guys.
Well, and one of the things I love too is just one of the emails we just got with what we would consider one of our more significant blessings, that we would say this is a tangible. It wasn't just the deep spiritual things. The listener specifically said, often God used the crazy humor at the right time. Yeah. And that's the thing, is just as serious as we can be, we're a bunch of cut-ups, and we have a good time, and we just, it kind of is what it is. We've said so many times, we don't script this. We just go after it. And I was just sitting here thinking again, like, you have this person you're talking about that was personal for you, that you got to be a part of. We've had stories, and we mentioned it, I think, in the last episode, but we have a story of like a whole crew going to church.
That was awesome.
Right? And you're like, awesome. What in the world is God doing with us? We've got people awesome. Going back to church, people being baptized. We've got chiefs that are saying to their people, hey, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Here's a great thing. And then God is using that. Like, you could just multiply those. And when I think about it, I think about the struggles of the logistical struggles, the struggles of our equipment isn't working, or the camera got too hot, or all these things. And then it's, I forgot to upload an episode. Like, all the behind the scenes, very real, very human side of the struggle.
Yeah.
And the frustration that even, especially for me as kind of the guy doing all that, and then realizing again and being reminded, no, we just need to be faithful. And I think that should be an encouragement to everybody listening. If there's something you're wanting to see God accomplish through you, first of all, just step out in obedience and do the first thing, and then just keep doing it. We are small. There's a podcast that started about the same time, or maybe a little after us, and it's got way more subscribers. And I sit there sometimes and scratch my head. Great podcast. God's doing good things through them too. Like, I'm excited for them. But I look back and say, man, I wouldn't trade what God has allowed us to do. God has given us this special little niche. And it's been a ton of fun. Here's what I want to do first. I've got some questions for you guys, and we'll just kind of go around and answer some of these questions. If you can't answer them, if you don't have an answer, because some of them I don't have an answer for. I didn't come up with these, but we'll try to keep this moving. as quickly as we can. We didn't get our stop. We never got us.
No, we didn't.
The counter clock. Anyway, we'll just kind of go this way on this one, and then we'll go back the other way.
Okay.
So, Steve, starting with you, what's the funniest thing you can remember happening while recording?
Oh my gosh!
There's too many, right?
Whoa. Okay. There we go. Now we're back. You know what's funny for me is watching you, because you darn near. I think a few times I thought you were gonna wet your pants saying you were laughing so hard. There was a few. Well, you know what it is. What's been fun for me is you guys get a kick out of me. So I'll say something goofy, and then you guys just run down the road with it, and that's always fun for me, because I love that. That's fun for me. Like when people bust my chops. But there was a couple times.
I will say for the listeners, when you hear us do that. We know Steve can take it. That's why we do it. It's like,
I think I always remember like when I couldn't get the bag of coffee open. You guys still like rant me about that to this day, about the coffee bag. And for any of you that don't remember, but when my wife started, we started getting the coffee, the red flannel coffee. It had a weird like tab on there, and I'm sitting there looking at this thing like, how do you open this thing?
Don't listen to him. It's like everyone else, all the other tabs.
I know. Well, what's funny? It's hidden because it's a black bag, and it was hidden. And what's fun? I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like starting to tear it open, whatever. And then my wife comes out, and she's like, "There's a tab right there," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, thank you." Because that's my wife does it all the time to me. I'm like a like a gorilla, and I'm just I'm ripping stuff open, and then my wife goes, there's a pull tab right here. Dead serious. I had a bag of birdseed the other day I did that with, where I'm sitting there, I'm trying to rip it, and she goes, no, you have it upside down. Turn it up. Here it is right here. And I'm like, all right.
Steve's the guy that opens the wrong end of a Ziploc bag.
Yeah, exactly. I'm that guy, So my wife is always on me about it. So I did this. And so I told the guys, and of course, that we wanted to make a video about how I opened up a bag of coffee. And it was great. But yeah, there's been so many times sitting here. We've had episodes where darn near like we're laughing the whole episode. It's like we literally like don't get anything accomplished.
It feels like a useless episode.
Yeah, in a way. But at the same time, like we were saying, it's so important, because in such a dark world we live in, it is so cool that we can sit around here and we can laugh when it's time to laugh, and I think one of the things that I remember too, just really quick, is in my early days of faith is sometimes everybody's so serious, and it's like, we can have fun as Christian people. We can laugh and have a good time, And I think that's what's been fun about this too, is just having a good time and laughing with each other. And then again, like you said, having those serious times. So I don't know, there's so many times for me that I remember us just having a great time here. But yeah, the coffee bag one was the first one for me, which was pretty cool, because it was teasing me.
Yeah, that's a good one, because that's one you'll never live down.
Never will live that down.
I think, and again, there's so many, and another thing I found is thinking back, trying to answer some of these, I don't remember. Like I remember how much fun we've had. I just don't remember the specific things. But one, for whatever reason, I'll never forget. I think Jake and Rich we were trying to have a conversation.
These
Jake and Rich were over here cutting up like they do. And I don't remember what happened or what was said. And I just looked at Jake and told him he needed to repent. And then he just like lost it.
Yeah, I do remember that, actually.
that was one of my favorites. That was hilarious. I don't know if it would fit here, but Jake bringing in the Smokey the squirrel. He wasn't named Smokey yet.
Yeah.
But again, because Jake was just a listener, but he knew how quick and easy we would see a squirrel and get off the path. That's fun. I think this is probably the answer to a question later, so I'll answer it later. But even this art that was sent to us, seeing Smokey in there, Smokey has taken on a life. Like we would have never guessed that when we started this podcast, that we'd have this silver squirrel that became our mascot.
Yeah. There actually is an in-depth reason behind Smokey the silver squirrel. We could wait till Jake is back, but there may be more of a story to Smokey than what you two realize.
Oh,
it's got to do with EMDR therapy.
Okay,
gotcha. It was something that came to Jake during that therapy process. And the EMDR therapy is kind of weird, because one time you're thinking about what you're there to go through, the traumatic issue, and you might find yourself wondering how many bricks it takes to build an igloo, and you're like, where did that come from? During one of Jake's therapy sessions, he saw a squirrel. And if I remember right, it was a silver squirrel. And he's like, what is going on here? So it was kind of
then we started talking about squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of a, Jake and I have both been through that therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we kind of can relate to out of the craziness of the trauma that you're trying to work through, something so crazy coming
that's
out
cool.
of it.
He hadn't mentioned that. That does give, and it fits perfectly, right? With our podcast, what we're working through here. Yep. Cool. What about you, Rich? Is there a specific funny?
I don't know if it's funny, but I think one of the ones that I enjoyed the most is, now you got me conscious of my breathing, and I'm doing it.
I was just thinking that myself, actually.
I think one of the fun ones for me were when we interviewed your kids.
Oh, yeah.
I think
kinda
that was,
forgot about
it was kind of one of those, we're not going to edit, and boy, we did not know what we were going to get out of it. Yeah, and I think that was one of the most enjoyable ones.
It was special for me to hear how much they grasp and hear them communicate that.
You think they don't catch on to things, and the kids learn a whole lot more than what people in this service think they do.
Yeah.
Another one that was my favorite. Well, I think we're jumping ahead on my questions, but you said this was. I think having Cameron in here was one of my favorites. I got a lot of people comment to me how much they appreciated hearing that and his heart behind it. And by the way, I'm sure Cameron will hear this because he's still listening. For those of you who might be wondering, and remember, Cameron was here. I'm not even sure if he had started the academy yet. He had just been hired
was real
on.
close,
Yeah.
And just this, well, as we're recording, not as you're listening to this, but as we're recording, just this weekend, he got confirmation from the state that he is now a firefighter.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Sorry to hear that.
As we have said, we want to have Cameron back now.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys where all you got to do is meet him for about 10 minutes, and you'd be going like, I want him on my team.
Yeah. He's a good kid. He's a really good kid.
Yeah. So Cameron, just beware. We're gonna bug you to get back here.
Yeah. That's why we got the big studio. We need 5 seats now.
Yeah. Well, apparently not anymore. We can't seem to get all 4 of us here anymore.
That's right. The good ones are here.
All right. Let's keep going. Okay. This I'll ask you guys this. I'll start with Rich. See if you know this. See what you would say. Which of us 4 is most likely to go off the rabbit trail?
Go off the rabbit trail?
Which one is least likely to go off the rabbit trail would be you.
Yeah.
The other 3 characters you hang out with, that's good luck.
Yeah.
That's probably a better way to answer that.
I would not put money on that whatsoever. Probably it's going to be something that Jake and I are texting back and forth.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. They said we gotta. Well, I guess separating them won't matter because they'll just.
Or we'll give each other the look.
Look.
Yeah.
That's been a fun a couple of them too, where you guys had that look, and then
I just know they're
and then they just start laughing. Like, what's so funny? They just look at each other and they start laughing like little kids. It's hilarious because we're like looking at them, going, "What are they laughing about?"
And it's so horrible because there's times I'll see Jake cracking up. And I'll start laughing because Jake is laughing, then Jake's laughing because I'm laughing, and it's just
and then that's it. And then now we're trying to reel him back in, and
and we're both over here crying, and you guys are going like, "What did we miss?"
Right. I think everybody can answer my next question. I'll throw this one to Steve. I think anybody who's listened, especially if you've listened to all 100 episodes, which, by the way, this blows my mind, and this is so cool. How many people have that have told me they've found us, and then they go back and they binge listen. What a cool, I mean, it's just such an honor that people would do that. So, listeners, you guys can answer these too. And email us, by the way. Tell us your answers, what you think. We'd love to hear. Or if you're watching on YouTube, jump in the comments and tell us who you think.
Oh, yeah.
Steve, who do you think is most likely to, I say, the question is accidentally. I'm not sure. My answer, I would say this is not accidentally, but which is most likely to accidentally start a theological debate?
Start a theological debate?
Yeah.
Jake all the way. Jake all the way.
It's not accidental.
Not even close. Yeah, he definitely will. He definitely will.
I forgot all about that episode where him and I just went at it.
Remember that? And I'm like, oh, we're gonna go to part 2 or something. Remember, you guys were like, shut up, Steve. You stay out of this thing. You guys are yelling at me.
Yeah, I'm like,
that was funny because you guys were sitting like, shut up, Steve. Let us talk here. And I'm like, all right. So, that was funny.
And then we shut the camera off, and it was like nothing ever happened because it was just a game. For both of us were just having fun.
My goodness, that was funny.
I forgot all about that till just now. Okay. I'll throw this one out, and you guys can answer if something comes to you. Which episode completely surprised you? Is there one that would have come? You're like, and I know that's kind of an open-ended question.
It's surprising in what way?
I don't know. I didn't come up with these questions.
Okay. I've got two. I think the one of them. I'll go back to your kids.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I was really gonna go like, how is this gonna go with 3 young kids?
Yep.
And man, they really stepped up to the plate.
Yep.
Yeah.
And did a really well job.
And then we had Olivia back on too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she did a good job.
Yep. And then I think the other one was when the feedback that I've gotten when people listen to the podcast that you and I did, the second one that you and I did, where we went over my story.
Yes.
That was really shocking to me that the people go like, hey, I listened to your story, and those kind of things. So that was pretty surprising.
Yeah. I think that one of the things, if you say surprising episodes, what's interesting to me is how there's certain things that kind of have taken on life that you have to listen to all the episodes, and one of those is the shoes in the closet that you brought up that has stuck. We in my
underground podcast, the Behind Your Backs.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, that hasn't come up for a little while.
You got to remember that. Yeah, because not a lot of people know about that.
I've got a logo still on my computer that Jake made for the Behind Your Backs podcast.
Yep. That's a hit.
That was another funny one. That went on for a while. That was good.
People actually ask me thinking like that was a thing and they couldn't find it. They're trying to find Rich's podcast.
You know what I think surprised me? I think the one that surprised me is when we got that dude from South Africa that wrote us. Like, remember that dude from South Africa?
That was so cool.
Oh, actually, no. I think that one, and then I don't know if you guys remember this story or not, but so I got a text from a friend of mine. His son goes to school with my son, and they're buddies, and he was in Kansas City for a family event. And he texts me and he goes, well, you're not going to believe this. I'm sitting at this family event and there's a family member, like a distant family member that's a firefighter in the Kansas City area. And he goes, yeah, I just started watching this really cool podcast. And he started going down the road and it was us. Some guy.
I don't think you ever told us this.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was my buddy might text me and we're laughing because he's like, you're not going to believe this. And he goes, I'm talking to this guy and he goes, yeah, man, I've been watching this podcast with these guys and his fire department thing is pretty good, actually. And he goes, is it out of Michigan? He's like, yeah, funny enough it is, something like that. And it was, this guy just happened to stumble in Kansas City, but my buddy just happened to be sitting there and it just randomly came up about the podcast. And I thought, that's pretty cool, So I think things like that have been the real surprising thing to see, like where God has used this podcast to reach places. Like you would just think, okay, maybe people in Michigan or whatever, or local people that we know or something like that. But to get those things that are from like other states and other places where people have stumbled on.
All around the world. We've got a pretty regular listener from Canada.
Yeah, that's a new
but originally from Mexico, right?
Mexico, yeah.
So that's one of the things that surprises me. And I know that I've been in the YouTube world for many years now, but still when you think about just this little group of guys from this little town in Michigan, all of us are from small towns and now we're in a little bit better spot, but we were in this little tiny room in a little tiny church, like and seeing how God was using that. All right, we're running out of time. I wanna get into maybe a little bit more serious questions here for you guys. This one I think especially for Rich, because I know Steve would be like, oh yeah, like Steve was fired up, and
I get fired up.
Steve's ready for us to hit like 300 episodes.
Rich, in his mind, he already has.
when we sat down in this, and it's been fun, especially like for him and I, to watch that growth because it started when we restarted it was in a tiny room just off from my office. There was no studio. It was just, we set up a camera and we sat and looked at each other and there was nothing to it. Did you ever think we'd reach 100 episodes?
No.
I didn't then. Mm-mm. And then once we got Jake and Steve and we kind of started the momentum, I never really thought about that. Like, I was thinking about that today. I'm not thinking about 200 episodes. If we hit it, great. I'm just more thinking about the next episode, the next month, the next, yeah, I would say I did not. I think there was some times that I really thought, maybe we brought this back for about 15 episodes and we're done,
Right, yep.
Another question for you guys. We'll try to be as quick as we can so we can land the plane here. Which conversation that we've had, if you can think about it, which impacted you personally the most?
Ooh. Wow.
I'm trying to think. I will say, for me, there's a very selfish thing that is personal. And I see it in almost every episode. And it's watching Rich's spiritual growth. And that impacts me on a regular basis. Because I know what it was before Christ.
And there's some irony to that, because you knew what I was going through when we started this. And the second episode that we did was a particular call that I responded on. And I responded to that house today and provided medical care for a male at that address. And I just remember the house, and I was okay. Before I couldn't even drive down that road.
No, there was a time you wouldn't have. There's no way.
No. And today I was in the house, in the yard, where that call happened. It was okay.
In fact, I remember you at one point saying to me, I remember you responded there at one point, and you said to me, if I remember this correctly, you said, I think I was just at the house.
Yep. Then it was that house.
That's how much things have changed for you.
Yep.
And that's mentally, that's not even spiritually, right? That's just how God has helped heal you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think I have a favorite episode. I was very reluctant to do this, because when I looked at it, I went, man, that is a huge responsibility to be doing this and to be able to carry my end, because when we started this, I was a pretty young Christian and relatively still am. So to me, it was like, man, I don't know if I can carry that weight. What do I have to offer to this show? You got PJ that's, senior citizen, if you want to word it that way. And you got me down here still in diapers, and I'm like, man, there's no way I can hold up my weight for this show. And I think that was part of the struggle when we first started. And then I kind of started realizing that, okay, PJ's the pro and I'm the rookie, and maybe that will be what some people can relate to. Maybe there's some people that are so new into it that PJ's over their head, and I'm down low enough that they can look at me and go like, well, that idiot doesn't really know what he's talking about, but I can relate to him, So no, and I've the growth that we've had since then, and I'm much more comfortable because I realize now that I'm here and I can do what I can do for the show, and it's not on my shoulders on whether it's we're trying to lead people to Christ, and it's Christ's plan ultimately. It's not on my shoulders to save somebody. I don't have that authority.
Well, and what's cool is we're all different, and we all bring something to the table, which is kind of cool too. And I think the listeners, when they watch, they get something from each one of us, right? We're not all pastors, for example. We have one pastor here, then we have a fire chief. We have a guy that used to be in the service. We had a guy that did something completely different for the service, and all have different stories. And so I think what makes it more relatable to people is that we're all unique and we all have a different, I don't want to say perspective, but we just come from a different place, but it all comes together in a really cool way where I think people go, those guys are cool, man. Like Like if that's what Christianity, if that's what being a Christian is like, man, sign me up, man. That's cool. That's I want to be like those dudes right there, just regular Joe Blows having a great time, just loving God and loving each other. And again, coming here and for the, listener, I don't know, we've mentioned it before, but we don't get paid to be here at all. This is like our free time. We're just getting away from our families from a night to do this because we just felt led to do it. So, there isn't an ulterior motive per se. We're not getting a paycheck from this. We're just showing up because we feel led to do this and we love God and we love what he's done in our lives, and we just want to be a blessing. Let God be a blessing in your life, So I think that's what's really, really cool too, is we bring something really cool. But if I could say really quick, I know we're kind of ending out of time, but talking about favorite episodes, I think for me it was, I think really when I came on and gave my testimony was cool because, and it wasn't like the episode, it was just, for me, it was such a cool thing, because again, and like your listeners, whether I don't know if they know or not, but I'm not from here originally, and my family moved out here 6 years ago, and it was a completely life change, which I'm going to talk about in a few episodes here. But it was one of those where I was really wondering, like, well, Lord, I knew what my purpose was before, but what's my purpose now here in Michigan? And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget this. Is I remember after that show we did, I remember driving home. And God was putting on my heart, and I said, that's why I'm here in Michigan, is this show. God is going to use this. And I just knew something was going to come about it. And I'm like, I'm part of something really special right now. And Lord, that's why you're bringing me here, is to be part of something special. And, to see, like we said, all the emails and the stories and stuff like that, that to me that's what's worth it, man, is to see the fruit that's come from this show. In that and hearing the stories. And that's why we thank you so much for writing to us and let us know. That means you have no idea how much that means to us, because we know that, man, God is working and we're seeing lives being changed. And again, we continue to encourage you to please write us and all those things, because it really does so much. We were just talking about a few of them we just got the other day, and we were just talking about how cool it was. And we're getting pictures of people being baptized, and I mean, it's like, literally, I'm reading this stuff and I'm crying because I'm thinking, thank you, Lord, for this. What an awesome, eternal blessings, man.
To Rich's point, though, in that one, that email talked about how every topic, the topics were just what they needed at the time.
Yeah,
the humor was just what they needed at the time. Like, we don't know any of that.
No,
God's the one doing all that. That's what's so cool about it. We're just kind of putting topics together as we feel led, or as I can come up with an idea, or as a listener asks. Like, there isn't like this grand scheme plan. I mean, the most plan that I have is I try not to do too much of like all spiritual in a month, or too much all fire. I try to have, like, our next episode is going to be just more fire service talk. So that's really the only thing we try to do, is just keep it so that there's a good balance.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's just the Lord guides all of that. And even the ones that go off the rails, and it's the humor. We don't plan that stuff. It just happens.
Oh, Jake and I do.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, what are we going to do today?
It's always Jake's idea.
Yeah, I know. So,
Jake.
Anyway, one last question. I know that the guys, if you continue listening, thank you. I know this is a long one, but
we're worth it.
It's our 100th episode, man.
We are worth it.
If you've made it 99 episodes,
we can make it one more.
Yeah, that's right.
This has probably been the one that's been the least off the rails. Here is the last question, and I want to hear.
Challenge accepted.
We'll all three answer this one. What does Faith Forged in Fire mean to you now compared to episode 1? Who wants to go first? Now it's
sorry, that was me.
Now it's Steve's phone.
I'm sorry, I gotta turn this off. I'm so sorry.
We gotta go. I hear banjos.
I'll jump in. I think. What does it mean? I have seen the value of it, the importance of it. When we started, it was kind of like, hey, let's try this. I definitely sensed that the Holy Spirit was prompting it, But then as we did it, we couldn't really see the fruit of it, right? We didn't have the email. We weren't getting a bunch of views. So we couldn't really see.
We felt like we were out in the middle of the desert
talking to ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what was one of the big challenges.
Yeah. So now we have people that some of our listeners that I really hope one day to meet. There's several that I'm like, man, we got to figure out a way to meet them. And it's so just the value of Faith Forged in Fire and realizing the need for a podcast like this.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next?
Rich?
I don't know. I mean, when we first started, it was kind of it almost felt like we had to do it to a point.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And we didn't have a goal. I think maybe if we made it through 5, I was kind of praying I'd make it through the first one, and now it's just become something that's just enjoyable to do.
Yeah.
Because like you're saying, we've got feedback now.
Right.
We at least know somebody's watching it.
It's true.
And people are appreciating it.
Yeah.
And we've actually had the mailbox guy down in Jackson County, the dude that always wipes the mailboxes off the side of the road. We won't mention any names, TJ. We'll keep that on the down low. But, there's some people that have actually said they look forward to the podcast. And when we first started, like you were saying, we were just kind of broadcasting out into Neverland and never got feedback. So it was a real struggle because we wanted to know that we were changing or helping change people's lives, and we didn't know if we were or weren't.
Yeah, I'll get texts now like, hey, there's no podcast. I'll be like, well, it's the fifth Friday, so we're not. Like, by the way, that's why we didn't have it. As you're listening to this, the past Friday there wasn't one because it was a fifth Friday.
Yeah.
I talked about those upload problems. They happen, and I would get a text, hey, there's no podcast. Yeah, I'm working on it. But it's great because I know they care. They want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Steve? Real quick.
Yeah. It's meant so much to me. I just, I think life, it's funny. Me and Josh were talking about this before the podcast and about, we're talking about life, and, it's so easy to live. I think sometimes I call it I think, who was it? It was a pastor guy. John Piper said this, thought about the wasted life, right? And it's so easy to just go and make money and retire and have a good time and whatever. And, that's great and all, but, I think it's so awesome to be able to be used by God for eternal purposes and to know that God is using you, a little nobody, for someone out there that so desperately needs to hear from a little nobody and how it's changing their lives. That is that's everything. Mm-hmm. That's you can't get, you can't, we had a listener, and you guys know in these emails we just got recently, we had a listener that spoke and said in the thing, it says, this podcast has changed my life. Mm-hmm. When you see that and know that, wow, this time that we're taking to do, be away from the family, and we're doing this once a month, and we're getting together, and it's not always easy to do, and sometimes it's frustrating, and like you're saying, all the things that come about it and scheduling and all that, but to see that and know it's all worth it because people are, and we're living lives of value in the sense we're giving back to we're being used by God, and we're saying, Lord, our lives are yours. Mm-hmm. Use it for your glory. Use this podcast for your glory. And I think, to me, man, I mean, I'll take this to my grave as one of the most special things that I've ever done, I've ever been a part of in my life. Again, God willing, we last a long period of time, but if not, it'd be one of those that I'll take this, for the rest of my life, to say I was part of something really special, and God used this podcast. And we know that people, their lives have been changed. Mm-hmm. We've seen the emails. Mm-hmm. We've known people. We hear the stories. Lives have been changed, and that's everything.
I was thinking about this. We'll end with this thought. Was it worth it? have these 100 episodes been worth it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Just thinking about this when you were talking, Steve, and I'll say this before I say this. You guys know where to find us. You guys have been listening long enough. Emails in the description. We won't do all that right now. I'm going to leave you with this thought. If God is prompting you, if there's something that God is prompting you to do, or something you're struggling, maybe something that you're already doing and you're just not seeing the fruit that you want, keep going, be faithful. Because I think, man, Rich, you said, when you said, it sounds so simple, but like you said, that we didn't really feel like we had a choice. Like it was just the Holy Spirit put that burden, like we need to do this. And it didn't make sense.
And I know that there were times that was the only reason we kept going.
Yeah.
Because it was put on us. It's like, oh,
I don't understand, Lord, but I got to be faithful.
You're going to keep doing this. And we're like, oh, yes, sir.
and now we can say with confidence, and this is not us, this is all God, that when we get to eternity, there will be people, if we don't get to meet them here, there will be people that we've had an impact on.
Yeah. And you know, and for what? It's for giving of yourself. To do, you know, it's. I think I told you guys a long time ago. Someone said to me many years ago. I worked with a guy, and he kind of gave me a hard time and about just being used by God. And I said, you know, and it was kind of lashed back a little bit in a way because he was being kind of a mean about it. But I said, you know, the difference between me and you is I'm willing. I want to be used by God. I want this life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want my life to be a waste.
Yeah. I pray that so many times.
Yeah.
Or just use me. I want to make it count.
Yeah. It's not about me, and it's not about this life. If my whole life has been used, and for people that just say, I want to know Jesus because I saw Jesus through Steve or whatever, you know, anything, any bit of it, it's all worth it because, like you were saying, those are eternal things. And I completely believe what you were saying just a minute ago is, I really think when we get to heaven, I think the Lord shows us who He uses with, and it's not pats on the back, none of that. It's what I think what the Lord's going to say is, because you were willing, you weren't afraid to stand for me, you weren't afraid to live for me, you loved me this much. These people here got a chance to know who I was because you were not afraid. Mm-hmm. You were bold, and these people are here. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, good and faithful servant. You know, welcome, good and faithful servant. Mm-hmm. But just thank you for just caring. Yeah. You know, and all that stuff. You know, and I do completely agree. And that is awesome, man. That is awesome, man. Every time I get an email, every time I see people are watching, it's like, man. And what's crazy is, like, we're not getting paid. We're just hanging out, but it's like we're getting so much joy out of these emails and all that. And how cool is that? So I don't know.
Well, go do what God has for you to do, because we are not special. God is special. And we stepped out in faith and obedience, and He saw fit to bless that and to use us. And He can do the same thing for you, because we are not special. And let's see what God does in the next